Hello, my name is Layla and welcome to my weekly analysis for the week commencing the 4th of June 2017. And today I'm going to be looking at dollar yen. And anyone who watches my videos will know that I tend to concentrate on the higher time frames, occasionally looking at the daily charts, but mostly I look at the weekly and the monthly, hence why my analysis is once a week. So we've got dollar yen open on the monthly chart, and I just want to draw your attention to this trend line that I've got running through price action just along these tops. Admittedly, some people will find these quite difficult to agree with. They're not very popular, and I think they get a fairly bad rap, actually. I think trend lines can be very useful in the right circumstances, but you need to know where to put them. And generally, you're looking for points where it's so clearly defined that you really can't fail to ignore it. Now, this is not what I would call a conventional trend line, because I'm not trying to join all of the tops, although if you wanted to, you could, and potentially you could join these three tops and might well come underneath this particular price action here, but that's not relevant to where we are at the moment, because we're here, and price action in this particular position has the possibility of going either way. Now, the reason being is this either a small bearish pullback in what has been a strong push up, or is this the sign of a lower high from here? So we need to work out what might be coming next. So we're going to have a look at the monthly in a little bit more detail. So I'm just going to go a bit closer and take us to where we need to be. So looking at this one, we can see that for the month of April, which is this little hammer here, some people would know them as a pin bar, that bounced off this 50 EMA, which has acted as pretty decent support and resistance in the past. You can see that this price bar has pushed strongly away from here and would have at some point been all the way back up to the top of this bar. In fact, I'm going to make this a little bit closer so we can see a bit more. So in this particular case, we would have pushed all the way up here, and the sellers have stepped in and actually pushed price all the way down. So we bought for the month of April and we sold off for the month of May just passed. So this really implies that whoever was in the market that was trying to push this up, hence this push up, was this a pullback that then had found support and then was looking to continue to push higher, but actually didn't in the end. So this means that there wasn't enough buying strength in this particular market in order to continue what was effectively a reversal candle. Now, you do have to watch it with pin bars, stroke hammers, etc., because they have they used to be very, very reliable, and I think as they have become so well known, they've actually started to become much less reliable. And I think people who've been looking at the markets for some time will recognise that it's not a given that they will produce the kind of reaction that you're hoping for. But what I certainly can tell you in this instance is that if there was going to be an opportunity to push away from a major EMA like a 50 or a 200, in this case it's a 50 on the monthly chart, plus we were very close to a round level at 108, if you were going to push away, you would have thought you might get some sort of continuation. But this bar here for May has completely negated that, which does imply that there's still quite a lot of selling pressure in this particular pullback. So by looking at the next time frame, the weekly, we can get a bit more of a sense of what is starting to potentially happen. So we have lower highs and we have lower lows. So this is effectively cycling downwards, and this particular portion of the cycle looks like it's agreeing with this minor downtrend, if you like. Plus we also have the 20 and the 10 EMA starting to point downwards, and we have price action actually below them as well. So there's quite a lot of downward pressure on this particular time frame and chart. So if we can break through 110, which is a reasonably strong level and actually goes back historically quite a long way, probably a couple of decades. So there's certainly interaction with this level. As we can see, it's recently been broken, and it was broken here. So it's not an absolute fail-safe level. Most of them aren't. Only the very outer extremes tend to be like that. But certainly levels within the within the chart, if you like, within the price action, they can fluctuate between being quite strong and being quite weak. So this one's recently been broken, which does slightly imply that it could be broken again, but still it's a level that we need to get through, and I think that's the point that we need to make. So as a sort of roundup of what I'm talking about with this particular level, if we break through here, then a potential push down lower to match this low at this 200 EMA at the 108 level is certainly a high possibility if we're able to break through. Now, the reason why I'm not necessarily considering it moving any lower is because of this particular buying that's occurred quite recently. As you can see, there's not quite so much here, but there's quite a bit here. Plus, we've also had a gap up. So there's quite a lot of strength to the buying side, which has come into the market recently. So you might find that the sort of battle between the two sides is a little bit more evenly matched. And if it's a little bit more evenly matched, we need to be thinking about potentially how far price could move. If it's more evenly matched, it won't move quite as far. So you won't have something necessarily like this. I'm not saying you won't, but if it's going to be a bit evenly matched, this is less likely, because this implies full agreement. Everyone's on one side, everyone's doing the same thing, whereas this means that they're not necessarily agreeing. There's two opposing views, and that causes a bit of a battle, which means it's harder for price to move in a direction without any obstruction. So that's how I'm viewing this particular scenario. Now, if we just have a quick look at the daily and get to this particular bar, which was Friday's bar, you can see that we've got strong reactions to these EMAs, pushed into the 50 and sold off rather well. It's a good solid bar. We've closed very close to the low, and it's taken out this particular swing low here. So we do have a lot of weight to the downside on this particular price action bar. We're also currently underneath the 200. It's price is weaving around it somewhat, but we only have to look to the left to see that this is not a dissimilar pattern, and we've certainly got the EMAs providing dynamic resistance. We've got the 50, the 20 and the 10 EMA all providing downward pressure on this particular price action. So certainly a move down to 10 is to 110 is perfectly feasible, and then, as I said, potentially a move down to the matching low at around the 108 level. Now, going back to the monthly chart, where I want to talk about the possibility of what might happen next should we come into a strong support level and find a matching low. I'm not going to say it's going to happen here, but this is the next point of interest after the 110 level. If we find a matching low here and price is unable to push lower, we may well find that we create a floor, which then could begin the impetus for the move up that potentially this is implying could happen. I'm not saying it's definite, but this is good strong price action, and this pullback's been a little bit bitty and sort of weak looking. It's a little bit undecided about what it wants to do. This looks like it has much more intention. So feasibly a pullback into somewhere in this zone, and let's say 108, because I think the matching low into the 50 EMA is on the monthly chart is a good start, as it is. It's a 200 EMA also on the weekly, so there's a lot of support in that area. If we were to find support here, then it is possible that as part of this first leg we could find that price attempts to move through the 117 level, which is just around this matching high, which is interacting with these lows here. We could find that price then tries to connect with this trend line at approximately the 120.30 level or thereabouts. It's a little bit difficult to predict, but that's feasibly where we could be going. So that's a much longer term prediction, and I don't really see that happening for some weeks. If we and firstly we have to prove whether we found a floor here as well, so that could take some time. So that's a real long term idea, if you like. It's not a prediction, but it's certainly an idea. For the immediate, I'd be looking for a break of 110 and a connection with the EMAs on both time frames at around about the 108 level, and then I'm watching that for a potential floor, because if there is, I would be looking for how price is starting to behave, and potentially a move back up into at least testing the 117 level, feasibly even the trend line. Now do bear in mind that if this takes a little while to move across, this trend line will continue to get lower and lower, so that price of 120, 30, etc. could change as price moves up to connect with it, depending on where it's able to get to and how long it takes it to do it in terms of creating a base. So that's just a long-term idea. Certainly won't be coming through anytime soon. At the moment, I'm looking at breaks of 110 and connections with 108. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye bye.